Thanks so much for joining us for another episode of Enlightened Conversations, where we invite our hosts and guests to share their views on the world, work, and their personal lives in an enlightened way. This season, we're also looking forward to engaging more with our audience, hearing your enlightened views and answering questions and topics you would like us to weigh in on. Today's episode is hosted by Michelle Lightworker and Christin Ewald. Hey everyone, it's Michelle Lightworker here with Enlightened Conversations Q&A with our wonderful co-host Christin Ewald today. Welcome, Christin.
Hello, thanks for having me again.
You're welcome. And today we are attempting the live stream, and fingers crossed it's working. If it's not, I'm sure we'll figure it out soon enough. And just so that everybody knows what we are actually discussing today, and we welcome your comments, we welcome your contributions. We are covering three different topics. The first one is, what is happiness? The second one is, how do I know if I've made the right decision? And the third one is, what is the difference between manifestation and creation? Our wonderful co-host, Christin, aka Magenta Goddess, was born and raised in Germany and is now residing in Australia with her 8-year-old son. She's passionate about lightworking and she has been practicing it ever since her first Reiki healing in 2013. And in 2018, she's graduated as a Master Lightworker Practitioner and facilitates her own healings today. And besides this, she's passionate about nursing, and privately she loves parenting, enjoying her life and keeping fit and healthy. Welcome, Christin.
Hello.
Hello. I'm just so looking forward to speaking about this topic about what is happiness. I saw someone posting this question on another group, and I thought, I really want to dive into that. And I feel like it is a question that goes around our minds often, especially I suppose if we're feeling unhappy and if we're feeling that we're not quite happy, and it's sometimes a bit of a journey for people thinking, well, how do I get back to happiness? Have you experienced that yourself or in your clients?
I feel like in my personal life there's a whole thread, and I feel like there's also, when I look at my clients, a common theme of why they haven't created happiness yet for themselves. I've noticed that common theme as well. So for me personally, I feel like I've always been happy as a child, and then I had a significant event happening in my life where I wasn't happy at all, and I questioned the whole thing. And now, having moved through that and kind of rebuilt myself and my life from the inside out, there have been certain, like when you think you know what happiness is, that had to shatter in order for me to create genuine happiness. So, and I thought for a while it's just a feeling that flates, like sadness, it comes up and then it goes again. But I actually think now we can create it, and it's like a state of being, like joy or love, and it can actually expand as we keep doing our inner work and feeling our way through what's not happy, what doesn't feel happy. And I think that's where I found a lot of my clients have the conception that I'm trying all of this all the time and I'm still not happy. It's like, okay, what place are you coming from? Is it a people-pleasing one? Is it actually what you want to do or what someone else told you to do? So there's a bit of, sometimes we have to dig a lot deeper on what happiness means to us personally and go from there, rather than chasing a concept of, that makes them happy that they have a family. I want a family. And then we have a family and we think that doesn't feel right to me at all, So there's no copying other people in this.
It's an interesting thing, isn't it? What we think happiness is. And then when we arrive at somewhere where we actually think that that's what happiness is, and then we go, oh gosh, I feel so empty. I remember that when I was in my 20s, and I was anorexic and that, and I thought, when I get to this particular weight, I'll be happy. And I remember I made it eventually to the particular weight I was looking at, and I was so miserable. I was horrified. I was so horrified and shocked. Why aren't I happy now? And it's it was almost like this whole fantasy thing that I'd built up in my brain, that once I'd arrived, I'd be happy. My life would be solved and all my problems would go away, and I would just be so happy. And I was, I think that's when I hit my spiritual rock bottom, because I'm pretty sure it was, because I just remember after that moment in time, I actually felt like my whole life was just like somebody had driven a truck into a wall. And I felt like my whole life was falling apart because, you know, whatever dopamine surge I was getting off you know, losing the weight and whatever, and the fantasy of when I get to this, it just crashed all the way down. And I think it can be like that with anything. That's happened to me before when I was in a relationship and we didn't have much money. And then my partner at the time started earning a lot of money, and well, it wasn't really a lot of money, but it was a lot of money compared to what we were living off. Because at the time, I think we were like living off $105 a week or something ridiculous like that. So anything on top of that was amazing. And we were getting a lot more money than that. And I just remember we got all this new furniture, we got all this stuff. And again, I thought, yay, yes, I should be happy. And I wasn't happy. So there's two very, very strong moments in my life. And that was just before the relationship ended too, where I felt like I built up a fantasy in my head. And it's not necessarily what happiness actually was. So I love how you said the more you've done the inner work, the more you understand I think that's what you said, the more you get what happiness is for you.
Yeah, the more you understand it and the more you create, the more it expands as well, I find. I feel like for me it's been a lot as a young adult and as a child, I've created this facet of happiness. Like, you know, I'm happy, I'm smiling. I can remember when I worked through like some trauma that I had later on in life, my mentor said, "You're smiling at me. I could almost think you were happy." But inside there was just so much grief and so much sadness and so much all the things that I may have looked happy and did all the things that make you happy. But yeah, as I said earlier, that was just a concept that I built up, you know, in order to probably not to be bothered by anyone anymore or something like that.
Yes.
And then I had this relationship as well where I felt shattered and all these ideas just fell down on the floor and I'm like, okay, obviously, you know, none of that was really me. So what is it that makes me happy? Yeah.
I think that we can sometimes confuse a respite from an uncomfortable situation as happiness. You know, like what you just said is like, look, I'll do anything so I don't have to be bothered by that certain thing. And that gives you a certain sense of respite or something from what's uncomfortable. And we think that that's happiness. But what you and I have probably learned over a period of time is that the uncomfortableness points towards how you can become more happy, not to evade that to become more happy. So if you deal with what created that uncomfortableness in the first place, you can find a sense of peace that you can be happy in that situation or any others, the opposite or whatever it is. And it's a different kind of happiness. It's not an avoidant kind of or a fake masky thing to make things better. It's a bit like, you know, parenting through guilt. When parents give their children everything because they think that will make their children happy, and that in effect, if their children are happy, they don't have to deal with any uncomfortable feelings, and then they will be happy. But it doesn't actually like work that way at all, because you're just creating a monster. But apart from that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually can so relate to this. I had a moment this morning where I just realized exactly that. It's like I've actually done that not to deal with my own uncomfortable feelings in this situation. Like generally, I think I got this, but just that moment, just to get it over and done with, I was like, I can't, and it backfired.
Totally guilty of that.
It backfired straight away. But I also think
it's good to laugh about it. It's good to, you know,
human,
things
right?
that absolutely. Yes.
And that's what
absolutely.
That's where it comes from, you know. Just to add to what you said earlier, with a sense of peace, there's also a sense of self-love. I think you can sit into where it doesn't bother you anymore what other people say or think, or whether you get attacked or not. It's just, if it makes you happy and it sits right with you, it's just, you go to you know, like it may hurt sometimes or sting, but you know, the worth of your own happiness and how you feel, it just becomes more important than trying to block out uncomfortable feelings, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like more about ownership than avoidership, isn't it? It's like we're owning, and it's coming more from a place of authenticity and honesty with ourselves to really own, I know what makes me feel happy, what brings me joy, what makes me feel peaceful. And if there's anything in the way of that, rather than avoiding it, if we look at that and we look at what is it about the thing that's creating that sense of disease or unhappiness within us, like, you know, then like the self-loathing or the I want to be perfect or whatever the constructs are that are creating that need to hone in on something else to make us happy. I think that's when we really feel happy, that we start to get a real authentic feeling of happiness, like an actual feeling, not just a fantasy image thing.
Yeah, it feels good in our bodies. And then it doesn't matter whether you have the thing or not, you're happy anyways. I can remember I lost after my breakup. I feel like I lost everything. When I first got to the coast, I had my son with me, but no material possessions, no job. And I can remember walking across the street. I thought, this is the happiest I've ever been. You know? And you think, how can you be so happy you don't have anything? Like, this is what my mind thought. But I just felt so good because I was free. I was doing the thing that felt right to me. You know, like it just sat good. In my body.
And it's hard to explain that, but that's it's a feeling. You can't really explain a feeling, but it is a very, I think, expansive heart feeling, and also a feeling of peace at the same time, but also a feeling of groundedness because you're owning it. There's a sense of something solid in that happiness, not empty.
Find that too. It feels full and connected. And there's also a bit of excitement sometimes in there too, when you're saying, you know?
Lots of that. Especially you and I. We jumped. I was at the Moulin Rouge a couple of weeks ago, and I flew down there to go to the Moulin Rouge with my auntie door, and we just had the best time. And seriously, it was happiness. Like it was. And for me, happiness is about not. Of course, you're respectful of everybody else around you and everything, but it's also about giving yourself over to the moment. So when they're doing you can, I was bouncing up and down on my feet, like I was like I was in tune in the vibe of the whole music. I was part of it. Like I think it's not sort of not being a moderate. It's just like literally feeling that authentic joy running through your whole body kind of feeling, and that's same for anything really that brings us that happiness as well, like literally allowing our whole body to be in that moment. So you know, sex, that's another one, you know, being able to actually let our guards down and let that pleasure in and things like that, that's another one that you know, if we've got barriers and we've got constructs in the way, we can't let go, then we can't embody it. We can't really feel it as to the depths of our whole being that we possibly could if we didn't have those things running. That's another one.
That's beautiful. That what comes through for me is also there's a piece of vulnerability there as well. The vulnerability of, you know, being honest with what it is that makes us happy, and then especially when it comes to the pleasure part or sexuality or like anything, just being with it and being excited. There's a piece of vulnerability of like, this is me, like I'm feeling so good right now, and you know, like I'm really letting this in. That's instead of definitely, you know, as you said, the whole I wonder what they think about me if I do this now. You know?
Exactly. Exactly. It's funny because at the moment, like you were saying it, I was thinking it's such a paradox, because when we're owning what authentically makes us happy, there is a real vulnerable element to that if we're actually allowing someone to be a witness to that. So, you know, it's fine if we're just doing it on our own and we know what makes us happy and we don't have anyone that we're saying, you know what, this really makes me happy. But when we actually start to share that with people, that does actually create intimacy on an emotional level, because you're really owning up to what, and owning it, like, this is what makes me happy, or contributes to my happiness, or allows me those feelings of happiness in the moment, or whatever, however we want to say it, really. But yes, that's a beautiful thing. I love that you said the vulnerability aspect.
And which is funny, because when we do that, sometimes we don't do it, or not to the full extent, like you just explained when you went to Moulin Rouge. But
yes.
Right. And then we think something, but it actually gives other people permission to do the same.
It does.
You know, to
It
let it in or
does.
to let it out like this, or it's just so freeing and healing in
Mm.
itself. Although we are just, yeah, being it. I just love it.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. And it's interesting, isn't it? So often we sort of want to protect ourselves from,
Mm.
or even other people from, the truth of what is creating unhappiness or internal misery or whatever it is going on for us that's prohibiting us from accessing that happiness. Often we want to either hide from it from ourselves, pretend it's not there, or if we do know about it, often we don't want to share it with other people because it's too scary, or they might use it to abuse us, or we have those kind of thoughts running through our head. So I think it's really important and precious to make sure that we really admit to ourselves first, like our comfortability level around it for ourselves. And sometimes we do need to get used to it ourselves first.
Yeah.
And then start sharing it with safe people.
Yes.
Who we know like 110% at first will not be judging, that we can say those things to, and they won't. Because often, and it's interesting, we're going to go into this later in the talk today, but in the chat, but it does have a lot to do with manifestation and creating our reality when it comes to who we share what with. So we will discuss that a little bit. We'll do an extension course on happiness at the end of this week.
Yeah, so stay tuned. Get excited for that.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, I think we've summed up what is happiness well. Like, it's a feeling. It involves embodying. It involves being owning it, and then being vulnerable and sharing it with, well, not necessarily at first, but sharing that definitely as a stage to create intimacy in our lives with people. So I think that's a really great sort of snapshot of how happiness works. And we can run from it all we like, the triggers and the things and the barriers that stop us from happiness, but that won't bring us happiness. Ultimately, it'll be empty.
And that's why I love, platforms like Enlightened in Conversations, because you can say, if we all go through this, like we are all having our level of something coming up. And if people hear that, I always think that made me feel more normal. Yes. And then also, if you are someone that's really, let's say like closed off or has like a lot of reservations, you could even start writing it down and sharing it, just, writing it with someone before you really embody it and show how happy you can be in your body, or like even mirror work one-on-one. It's like, oh, that's what I like. Like, just be okay with that, and then go from there. So
like practicing communicating it out loud can be a step too, like that mirror work.
And then you share
it
with
yourself.
Someone. Yeah. You share it with someone in writing, and they say maybe, I do too, or thanks for sharing. And then you go behind the scenes, before you can do it in front of them. I've done
absolutely.
that too.
I think every step's a big step. Like, even if they're small steps, they're still really big steps in our soul growth. Yeah. Sometimes we think we have to be all the way over here, but all the little steps towards that intention are huge steps. Yeah. And they're just as big as if we were to get to that end point that we deem to be that goal. I think they're all really significant moments of soul growth. And I think that, the more we can talk to ourselves in an enlightened way and say, good on you, keep going, awesome, and celebrate and be our own best friend and give ourselves pats on the back and encourage ourselves, and not look for what we didn't do right, but look for what we did do right, and then use the other stuff to improve on it, but start to have that sort of nice dialogue with ourselves to encourage us to get to do those steps,
and anchoring that into, so if you have risen above some vulnerabilities or fears that you've had, but you can feel like a little jump of like, oh, wow, I did it. Like, really anchor that in and acknowledge that as well, because that's the start of it. So
exactly. Yeah. Yes, exactly. No, keep going.
It's just like a tiny drop again into creating, I guess.
Again, yes, we're getting there. Creation's already pulling us to it, isn't it? Like, I love that. All right, so the second question. Now, can you see any comments on the feed? I can't see my live feed up at the moment. I'm still getting used to the technology, obviously, here, but can't see any sort of the video appearing on my thing. So I might, just see if you can see anything, let me know. If not, that's fine. And we can just keep going.
I can't see any just yet.
Okay, we'll just keep going. So the second question we have is, how do I know if I've made the right decision? I actually see this question a lot in general, like, when I see people doing a reading and they're like, oh, I don't know if I've made the right, like if this comes up a lot, this sort of self-doubt, or I want to make this decision, but I don't know if it's the right one. And they're seeking someone else to tell them, which way should I go? Do you see this a lot, or is this something that?
Yeah, that one. And then also regret. So, what if I would have, decided something else or done something else? Like, was it right that I did that because I'm now here? Yeah. And I know it for myself. I had a period in my life where I would constantly ask other people for, like, what do I do now? Which way do I go? Like, what do I decide? Yeah. Missing piece of trusting yourself as well.
Yeah. And I think that okay, this is really, 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 really bigger picture stuff, like really big. Like, this is way beyond probably where most people would go first. But I want to say it because it's the first thing that came through when I saw that question that person asked, and I didn't doubt it for a second, because that's how I would talk to myself, really, like nowadays. So the first thing that came through was, you can't make a wrong decision. You can't. It doesn't matter what decision you make. If you make a decision, you'll soon find out what you need to do to next time, or what have you. Every single decision you make is a learning one. And even not making a decision is making a decision. So we're still making a decision to not make that decision, delay that decision. That's already creating a sense in our bodies of something.
Yeah.
And it could be a sense of frustration. It could be a sense of trepidation. It could be adding to anxiety. It could be adding to depression, not making those decisions. So we're already, and that doesn't mean it's wrong to delay. It just means it's another teaching tool. Yeah. So our delaying of making that decision is already creating a response. When we think about going down the path of, should I go this way or should I go that way? We can try and tune into our feelings around what each one feels like in our body. That's one way of having a look at that, like just to teach decision making as a self-discovery tool, like before you actually make it, so that it's not, oh, I've got to push and make this decision, but you can actually go on the journey and go, okay, well, this is what I'm thinking about doing. How do I feel about it? And how does my body feel reconciled with that? Where is it coming from? Where does it feel good? Where doesn't it feel good? Is there a mismatch? Do I need to kind of come back into some kind of alignment for this decision? There's all those kind of steps that we can take. But ultimately, whatever decision we make or not, or don't make, it is still the right decision, because the journey is not a mistake. Every single part of the journey is not a mistake. That's what I would say first up.
Yes. And I would like to add to that, because I have similar things actually that came to me before this conversation around that question. And what I would like to add is that, now I lost my thought. We made the right decision with what we knew at the time. So even if you made a decision and now look back and think you regret it or it was wrong or anything like that, like you knew what you knew at the time, and that's where you made the decision from. And what I've also learned is, if you do it intuitively, there is almost always a moment after you've made a decision where you doubt the decision. So that's just normal. So just trust that whatever you decided was right at the time. And then, as you said, if you then feel like something is off along the way, most likely it would be good to feel through the doubts first and then make another decision. But you can always then choose again from there and make a new decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. I think decision making gets it just gets a lot easier or cleaner or something before you make it, when you've had a bit of practice on what we're talking about. But every and that's great, because kind of like, you know, you and I probably have experienced it a lot, that we shortcut our way to kind of where we want to go. Like, it's again the manifestation thing, right? So you can, you know, it's because most decisions are about the outcome that we want, right?
Yes.
So it is a bit about manifestation again. It's just like trickling its way through this manifestation beast, isn't it? But I think that when you get good at, like you're saying, intuitively going with what you feel and understand what that looks like, feels like, you know, that process and how that works. And everybody's an individual, and that, I feel, is not something someone can tell you is the way to do it. I mean, you can try different things, but ultimately it's your way.
Yes.
Your way's unique and my way's unique, and we kind of know. Lately, I've had a discovery that, you know, at the bottom of my spine, when I think of something quite big to do or expansive to do that stretches me, I get like this tingling sensation at the base of my spine. And I did some Googling about that, and did talk about Kundalini, you know, that's the sort of Kundalini, the feminine goddessian energy stirring. So I was like, oh yeah, okay, so it's stirring. So, but ultimately it's meant to sort of work its way up to your crown. So that made a lot of sense to me, because it kind of almost like something big, I feel it there, and then I think, oh no, it's I've got a bad feeling. But it actually isn't a bad feeling. It's actually stirring up the energy that could solve the fears to that.
Yes.
So I've actually been working at letting it. I just actually said to it, okay, make your way all the way up and show me the solutions. That's what I asked.
That's good. Yeah, I like that.
Because I do believe if that energy connects in with all the other energy centers up and down the spine, that I don't have to think my way to that solution.
Yeah.
Like, no, let it be given.
Yeah.
Yes.
It comes to you.
Amazing.
Yeah. That's nice. I do ask for, like, just give me signs of which one should I choose, and then it feels more pulling towards the thing. Or when I feel intuitively into it, it's like, oh, sometimes I can feel certain outcomes of what happens along the way. And I'm thinking back to the bigger picture, like, where am I going? Is that what would serve me or get me there faster? Or, you know, like, and then I would decide. Yeah. But I like the Kundalini one. That's good. That gives like extra, like, you know, connection, I feel like, to that.
It's and almost like sort of like intelligence that I can't think my way to. I can only invite. And then it sort of lets itself emerge. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm gonna try that too. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, that's okay. And so well, let's move along to our wonderful manifestation, because I kind of feel like all these things are helping us to get to there, aren't they?
Yeah.
Can you hear any banging, or is that?
I think I should shut my window quickly. Is it really loud?
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Yes, go for it. And the third question was actually a beautiful offering by Christin, that she had a question herself this week, and I loved it. It was so alive for her. And so I thought, what is the difference between manifestation and creation? I thought that would be a really great topic, because it was so alive for you this week. And I do love that. I love it. That's how I choose my Enlightened Conversations a lot too. I see what people are really excited about, and then they get me excited, and then I want to talk to them. So,
creating happiness again, back to the start. Yeah.
Interesting, isn't it? This creation and manifestation. So I loved your post, because it was all about, you know, it just had so much in it when it came to, you know, just questioning what is creation, and how does that lead to the manifestation of what we want, and what is our part in it? You know, how much do we have to kind of create and own, and how much of it is manifesting and it's just given kind of thing? And it was like an interesting post, and I think, you know, just from my point of view, I felt like we're creating all the time, like we don't stop. Like with every breath, we're creating something. Like our thought processes, our feelings are moving, our body's doing something. Something's in creation, something's in movement, something's occurring,
Yeah.
just from us being. So for me, it's like manifestation is like the what's the word? If what we're sitting in our creation of what we're thinking and what we're feeling and what we're doing and stuff, if we're one side of Velcro, then manifestation's like the other side.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It just comes and clicks in, yeah.
And I feel like it's like, it is a relationship. So yes, it's like we have to take ownership for what we create, because we're one side of the Velcro. And if what the abundance is what we want, like actually that we what we want, awesome. But if it's not what we want, then not so awesome. Look at what are we actually, what's really moving through us, like in our beliefs and worthiness and stuff, because that's kind of what we feel. And then the other side of that is like from making the decisions and the right timing and no regrets and all of that, like what we just covered.
Yeah.
It's also about humility.
Yes.
Like I feel like sometimes when we're on this manifestation journey and abundance journey, we feel like if we don't have it right now, there's something wrong with us.
Yeah, there must be still a belief of.
Yes, exactly. Whereas it could just be that I do feel like I'm at peace and I do feel like I'm worthy and I do feel like I have enough. And so I am feeling like that should be here. But sometimes there's a bigger picture to walk that if you had all that now, that it might put a little bit of a blanket on some other things that need to be dealt with first. And it's a timing thing. I know that's happened to me in my life too. And I kind of feel like I want to give that to whoever's listening that thinks, oh, but I should have it now. Like, why don't I? And I'm doing all the right things. And I do believe these things and I don't have any, issues. And I'm bring it on, universe, that kind of feeling. Just to have that humility for that there might be other things. And the reason why you don't have it right this second isn't because there's something wrong with you or something wrong with your process or what you're believing or what you're doing. It's just, it's a timeline thing. There's a timeline factor.
That timeline factor is giving me I'm always wondering how this timeline factor thing, because some people use it to bring manifestations in a lot faster, but then other thing, it hasn't come in because, there's a certain timeline and it hasn't just met yet. And I'm thinking, but if we can create, why isn't there a piece where and maybe that's just me being controlling on some level. Like just merge the timelines.
Yeah, get with the program, bitches. All right.
But yeah,
I think that's I really think that's a really great question to ask the universe, though. So we can take that into meditation and go, guys, like, is this a timeline thing? Is there something I need to be working on? Can I just relax? Is this because sometimes we want to, it's almost like we're doing it until we do it, like we kind of gunning it till we get it kind of thing. But sometimes it's about going, actually no. And they may say, look, if you're overly focused in this other direction, it's going to take you away from this other learning that could prohibit the timeline. Like you could be speeding the timeline up if you focused on this direction, this other area, get that done, that could happen sooner. Could be that too. I know it has been for me as well, and certain things are outside of my control because they involve other people. So there's that sort of, two people's lives and being patient and those kind of things. But I think that, for the most part, if we just ask that question, that would be a step in the right direction, don't you think?
Yeah, I do that actually. So when I really don't know, I just hand it over and say, look, what is it that I need to know? Is there anything I need to look at here? or even just what's the next step. Because as you said, sometimes you get so grinded up in this thing and it still doesn't come and you're like, ah. So you just want to take a step back and just surrender. It's like, okay, what's next? Just
I promise.
show me.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I promise this is not blowing my own horn. I'm honestly coming from a place of struggle here. When I say there's a lot of times that I go, what do you need me to do? And they say nothing.
Yeah, true. But then
And
again,
I struggle with that. Because it's like, no, but I can do things, I can. And they're like, stop.
Yeah. And I have so much to do.
don't.
Yeah. You wanted me to do all these things. Like, why don't I get it down right now? Yeah, I have that too. But I learned to trust that as well. Because I'm like, okay, it's quiet now. I know something is coming.
That's good. I like that. Yes.
It won't be forever.
Sometimes there's a lot being done in the quiet.
Yeah.
And I guess I've learned to train myself to find more joy rather than look for problems, in that respect too, that I've just gone, I can just focus on joyful things over here and yep, you're not avoiding anything. Okay, more fun. That's good. So I've, I have struggled with it a little bit, but I've gotten more used to it, that sometimes this is nothing more I can do. I just need to be kind of, it's almost like if I focus too much on it, it disrupts it.
Yeah.
I'm feeding problems into a situation I shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So, because it might not have anything to do with me. But the more I inject myself into it with my thoughts, the less progress is made in that area for whoever's involved, because I'm still interfering somehow in my thought process. So then that's the problem, rather than just, you're cool, just chill, it's okay, just get on with your own business kind of thing.
Yeah, trusting that it does come in, isn't it? And then you create that. Don't we create too? If we are in joy and playing and having fun, we're actually creating more of that at the same time as well. And we're creating our own happiness rather than sitting, it hasn't still come yet. Because that it hasn't still come yet, it's like, you just create even more of that feeling.
Yeah, you become the Velcro.
Yeah, exactly.
That attracts
what you don't want.
Yeah, still haven't come yet. It still hasn't come in. Universe continues to give you that Velcro. So it's
but it can also be frustrating. When sometimes you got to acknowledge your feelings along the way as well. Like, say you have been, diligent in showing up and doing all the things, and it still doesn't come, and then you get frustrated. That is something just to feel through and then let it go, but not to get stuck in. And then I guess I probably talk to myself here right now as well, instead of like chucking the whole idea of creating out.
Totally.
just like feel it, be with it, and then next.
Absolutely.
And what I've learned, what also made me question that is, write this post is, I always talked about manifestation, and sometime along the line I had a healing done, and she said to me, you got to create it. So instead of just saying, hey, this is what I want, and then sitting at home and waiting, know what I mean? Like actually going out, taking the steps, or whatever it is. Like if you want to be an author, actually write the book, or actually go meet new people if you want relationships, or, Google on what kind of
how else, if we don't take the steps, how else are we going to recognize where our barriers or fears or whatever is to getting that happening? And it's like, absolutely. And that's why circle back to being your own, like, cheer squad and your own best friend sort of thing. Because then every step you do take, you're going, I did that.
Yeah.
And there's an energy of, it is happening. And I think the more that we experience that energy in ourselves, the more momentum we get. And if we're coming from a place of depression where we haven't had any purpose, or we've had a lot of self-doubt, or those kind of things, we've been swimming in that for a while, it can sometimes feel like 2 steps forward, 1 step back when things don't happen. But if we kind of reverse the whole narrative to how we're talking to ourselves about those steps and go, 2 steps forward. Well, okay, 1 step back. Cool. No worries. 2 steps forward though. And if we continue to just focus on that for ourselves, it's just the momentum, something happens. It's almost like it takes on a life of its own after a while, that creation process. It's almost like we're getting pulled along. Like it's
Yeah,
Like
and
that.
things just happen as well, like in flow, like, oh
Mm-hmm.
wow, yeah, that's right. Oh, I needed that. Or like gifts drop down that make it easier for us or more available or something.
Yeah.
And then I think, because you said earlier, like, we believe and then we cheer ourselves on. I think that also helps us to believe that we are worthy of what we want. Like sometimes we may have dreams, but they seem so big that there's actually part of it like, I probably won't be able to have it this lifetime, or, I can't actually quite imagine having it because it's that great. So these little steps that we take as well just help us grow into that.
Yeah,
I
I
guess the place
agree.
we need to be to live that and receive that.
Yeah. And it's like that sort of muscle going to the gym,
Mm,
exercising it, it gets stronger and stronger. We get more used to it. It's about like, wearing those new pair of shoes, they feel a little bit uncomfortable at first, but then after a while they feel like, well, same with jeans, a bit uncomfortable at first, but then after a while they feel like, oh, I can never throw these out. They're the best pair of jeans ever. It's sometimes we just need to kind of give ourselves a moment to get used to things,
yeah,
especially if we've been doing something one way and then we're starting to do it another way. Like it's hard to sort of turn the wheel back the other way. To give
yes,
ourselves that compassion and
yeah,
just to sort of keep encouraging ourselves and go, don't give
super
up.
true.
Every step matters. We're getting there. We're doing this. It'll get easier, and it does get easier. I know it does get easier. I've seen it with so many hundreds of people. It does get easier. It doesn't
Does.
mean we don't go backwards. Doesn't mean we don't have hard times or struggle streets sometimes or whatever. It just does get easier coming out of those things. It's not like we're back to square one again.
Yeah, it really does. Every step that we take, everything that we learn, everything that we practice does help. And I sometimes also feel like when we have those setbacks or we feel down on them, or like we tell ourselves it never happens because, our brain sees all the reasons why, we can just apply manifestation to that. Like, okay, so I have this bunch of disbelief. Can we just take our power back and actually create it into something that would help me along? Like, of course I'm going to have it. Or in what way do you feel like it should come in for you to receive it easier? So I had this, for example, like this relationship thing, and a part of it is like it's scary and not that it affects me or Heinrich negatively. And Amanda said, just take your power back. And then I felt into it and I said, he's so gentle and kind. It's going to be easy for me to let it in. Like, like just turn it around on how it would feel good for you to actually get that thing
Mm-hmm.
that hasn't come in yet. Or, yeah, like
Yes.
some sort of positive change around that. And then, like it becomes more exciting and everything again as well.
Yeah. And
And then,
also, the thing that I get that comes through is that if we can't do it to ourselves consistently, then how are we going to be able to accept it when someone's in front of us?
yeah.
That if we want that so bad, how can we create our whole day or part of our whole day to do that for ourselves so we get used to it, so that we
Mm,
can recognize it, so that we attract it, so that our vibration's saying yes to it, not no to
yeah.
it, or I'm scared, or well, it won't ever happen. It's saying yes, 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 yes. So how
Yeah.
can we do that? And then anything that comes in that isn't, that's going to feel yuck. And we're going to
Yes.
go, nah, instead of, I'm so hungry for anything now.
Yes. Please come. Please just.
Yeah.
But when we actually know it's not going to work anyways.
Mm.
So, yeah. And if then the frustration comes when you know you can't do it anymore, although you want to, you just have to move. You just have to keep moving forward. Just keep moving
Yeah.
forward. Yeah. And keep
Yeah.
doing the same thing. Exactly. And then it's like, oh, yeah, that's normal. Of course it is.
Yeah.
I've been treating myself the whole time like it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the creation, isn't it? And then you have
That
created
is.
it actively and intentionally,
Mm,
the whole thing.
exactly.
And
And I think that it's really great that you and I've talked about like that whole aspect of, again, owning it, like that creation
yeah,
is owning it, like the happiness aspect, right? And then it's kind of like I think there's room for mystery, in between sort of the Velcro of us and the Velcro of the universe coming together. I think there is an element of mystery, of magic, of the unknown, of an invitation for assistance for it to happen. Like,
mm,
I think there's that in that space between, it's the I'm giving the universe permission to bring this in. I'm giving myself permission to receive. There's magic and mystery in that. I'm looking for signs. I'm staying current with where this is, and being gracious about it, so that I'm not like a hunter. Because sometimes the more we hunt for it, the more we push it away. It's being solid with what we want and what we know we feel and deserve, but then allowing for that magic and mystery too, to be like an adventure, and to treat it like that with anything. And one good example is, I had a girlfriend who said to me one time when I was looking for a home, she said, "Oh, it's already there waiting for you. Can't wait to see what it is," And it was such a beautiful invitation for me to go, "Oh, so this is an adventure of me. It's already there." So I just got to allow for that to just trickle in and find its way. I'll take all the steps. I'll do all my things and have a look around and do all those things. But it adds an element to that magic to it.
Yeah, because where is it coming from? What's it going to look like? How's it going to happen? Like, right? There's Abraham Hicks talks about this, because the moment it comes in, it's like a moment and then poof, right? And we are just waiting for it, and we get so frustrated if it doesn't come, but it's actually the journey to it that makes it so exciting. Like, the anticipation. But I like how you said the magic and everything, because in my post, I also questioned, when I look at people that just write down their goals and then go and create that way and just really plan it out. I think when you come from a place of manifestation, there is more space for mysticism and magic than as if you would, just like write down what steps to take, or what do you think, how it should look or how it should be done, and then it happens.
I think so too, because sometimes that goal stuff is just all head. It's just and will, head and will. There's no, and there might be some heart stuff in there. It's like, I really want this and it'll bring me joy, and that, sure. But then if there's just almost like a tunnel vision thing to the goal, and then you're not actually looking at how that could come in a certain way, like a different way. There might be a bigger shortcut. There might be an even more blessed idea that you wouldn't have thought of, it when you're, oh my God, it's just mind-blowingly more. And that's why when Tony and I, at the end of the new year, we always talk about how the year went and what we want to bring into the new year. But we've gotten looser around what that looks like now. I think we've learned that we don't want to limit ourselves. That'll something better is often what we say. I'm going to rip myself off, honey bun. So, I think you're right. I think it's an excellent thing to say that, there's more magic and opportunity for something unique that we can't think our way to if we just allow for that in our planning.
Let the universe get to work.
I dropped my earbud.
Receive.
I dropped my my little ear thing, and it's rolled under the couch. I can still hear you, but it's good. One bit's rolled under the couch. So hey, are we able to have a look and see if anybody's? Can you see if the video's up on the page? And
it does say it's on Facebook.
Yes, and you can see it. Can you see it there? Can you?
I'm going to have it.
I'm still working out how to do all this. So this is a good example of manifestation that I got it to work, but obviously don't know how to kind of like read comments. So I'm still in the learning process to all this, but this is an amazing step, Christin.
I can see it. It is. I'm so proud of us. But I can't see comments. Okay. So it doesn't look like it doesn't have a number or anything. It looks like there hasn't been any comments.
Okay. Oh, well, maybe that's good. I'll work on that side of things for myself. But I think we've covered everything today that I feel complete with what we've covered. What about you? Did you feel like you had anything more that you would wants to be spoken to with these topics?
No, I feel like it feels right. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels good, doesn't
Same
it?
like with decision making as well. Yeah. If it feels right,
Yeah.
it's right.
It's exactly right. Yeah. See, look what we just did. See, we
Yeah.
just put it out there. Does it feel good?
Mm.
Feels good for me too. Feels peaceful. I feel like the threads of the 3 questions have really worked together.
Yeah,
It's
I
funny
didn't
how that
expect that.
happens. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't expect that either.
Mm.
And and often the questions that I've covered, I covered 3 last week with Leanne, and they were completely different, and they all wove together too. So it's kind of interesting how that works.
Yeah.
We'll leave it there, and we thank you for joining us. If you're watching the replay, we've got another Enlightened conversation coming up next. Q&A with Caroline King. She's going to be joining me on Thursday next week. So looking forward to that. And then, I'm off to Bali for a couple of weeks.
Ooh, for holiday. That's exciting.
Yeah, bring on the joy, bring on the massages.
Oh, they are so cheap over there. You can just indulge.
Amazing.
I'm going to actually book one in today.
Yeah, good. Bring me joy. I love massages. Well, thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll look forward to you joining us next time on Enlightened Conversations. Bye for now.
Bye.